This is a video on how to set up the HE901 Health Evolution oxygen chamber. First item here is your compressor. So you can see that that has filters on the end and an outlet port for the oxygen tube, for the air tube, sorry. This device here is your oxygen concentrator. Similarly, a tube connects into that screw port there, and I'll give you instructions on how to run it later. You will also receive filters, which are actually for the oxygen concentrator in case that gets dirty. A pair of power plugs, one for the compressor and one for the oxygen concentrator. You'll have two air tubes, the thicker one for the compressor and the thinner one with the screw thing on the end, that's for your oxygen concentrator. You'll also receive the frame. So you'll see that there's there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ladder pieces that run along the side, and they connect into these half rounds which you join together to form two rings, one at each end, the head end and the foot end. You'll also receive 6 new cannulas, nasal cannulas, and this device here, which contains the condensation collector and a little connector to actually connect on the inside of the chamber to collect the oxygen for you. You will also receive a pair of pressure gauges. The -40 to 0 goes inside the chamber, and the 0 to 40 goes on the outside of the chamber. You get a pair of walkie-talkies to use so you can do communications with anybody in the house while you're in the chamber. Then you'll see that there's a bolster at each end, so you'll get one pair which are strapped together, you'll be able to see that, for the foot end, and another pair at the head end. And then of course you get the chamber itself. So as I've got it laid out here, you can see is the best way to actually start to assemble your chamber. You unpack it and you lay it all out. On the end, good time to talk about these, you've got 1, 2, 3 pressure valves. These are automatic pressure valves, pressure relief valves. On the right hand side and the left hand side, they're set to open at 1.3 atmospheres. In the middle, they're set to open at 1.15. The way for you to control which one it opens at is to put a small grey cap, which I'll show you later, over the inside of this one, on the inside of the chamber, and that will stop this valve opening, and only your 1.3s will open, and they fail over for each other. If you leave this one uncapped, then in natural fact that will open, then the pressure will start to come out at 1.15 atmospheres. I'll just pause the video now and I'll get set to start putting it together. The first step to assembling a chamber is to get it laid out on top of the bolsters and then to open the zips. So there's 3 zips: cover, exterior bladder, and then interior bladder. So make sure they're open. Welcome back. The next step is to actually inflate your hyperbaric chamber to make sure everything is fine before you go to the effort of putting the frame inside the chamber. So I'll just show you how quick to do that. Make sure the chamber is laid out reasonably flat and stretched as much as you can. And you'll need to do the zippers up. So the inside zipper, you can see there's a string pull here. Holding the end, just pull that zipper along. Now you want to do it firmly but gently so that you don't actually cause any damage. But the idea is to get the inside zipper done up all the way to the end. Once you get, and holding this blue flap away is the easiest way to do it. Once you get to there, it actually needs to go to here. So you use your fingers and you push on that zipper, holding this up until you can't push anymore. Then you can fold the blue gel strip down into the well between the two zips, like that, and then you start with the external zipper. So you can see that's as well, needs you to hold the end to get it started. Firm, but not too hard. Continue to fold the blue gel strip in as you go. and all the way to the end. This is the same when you're using the chamber, it's got to be zipped all the way to the end. And then the easiest one, the external zipper. You can push these down. It's important to make sure that this is actually running towards closed. The moment it's open, it won't go any further that way, so you turn it to closed, like that. Otherwise the air will leak out that valve. Right, power for the compressor. In an ideal world you would connect the compressor to a separate wall plug and the oxygen concentrator to a separate wall plug, but because I'm away from those, I'm going to use a multi-box. Oxygen concentrator, plug at the bottom. Then we need to connect the pipes. The thicker of the two is the compressor pipe. You simply plug that in and it will not come out. To get it out, if you need to, you hold that ring pull in and then pull. Push that in. Run it to the bigger of the two connections at this end of the chamber. Same thing. Won't come out. If you want to get it out, use the ring pull. The oxygen concentrator has got the screw knob at the end, and that's got an outlet here. So we just screw that on. Run it around the back, and that plugs into the smaller of the two at the head end, like that. We can turn the compressor on, assuming the power's on, with that button. And we can turn the oxygen concentrator on with that button. You see the numbers come up on the screen. This is a rental chamber, that's why it's got numbers on it. If you've got a new chamber, it'll be reading 0 or 1. And then we adjust this dial here to get the oxygen level to the right level. You want it to be at 5, so we can turn it down or up. So we just get that to sit just a little bit above 5, and then as the pressure increases, it will drop to 5. And then to run the oxygen concentrator, we actually press the mode button. We set the time with the up arrow. Let's run it for 30 minutes, and then press enter, and it'll count down for 30 minutes and run for that period of time. And now we'll just let it inflate. A good thing to do is to keep an eye on the chamber to see if you can see the bladder moving and make sure that the air is going in. But it should be self-evident in about 5 minutes. I'll come back to you with the next step shortly. Just do a quick check in there. You can see that it is inflating and it is very slow the first time you do this. It doesn't have a frame in it to have any extra air volume to start with, and it has just come straight out of the box. So the first time you do this will take twice as long as normal. Perfectly normal. One quick note as well, you might see that I've moved the chamber now away from Pip's dad's sea chest because it has sharp metal edges. So you do want your chamber to be away from anything sharp that might damage it. We can see now that the chamber is fully inflated. You can probably hear the air coming out of the 1.1 size valve, so that's a good sign. I'll cap that later on to show the air coming out of the 1.3. Go along here. And you can see the pressure gauge at 15 kilopascals, so 1.15 atmospheres. When running at 1.3 atmospheres, it will be actually sitting on 30 kilopascals. That's enough for now to prove that the chamber is good. And as you can see, it's as tight as a drum, and this is something you should not do when there's someone in the chamber. Now we open the chamber up, because the next step is going to be putting the frame in. And to hasten the deflation, I turn the compressor off. I'll come back and show you the frame install in a moment. So this is the internal pressure gauge. It's got a black exterior. You can read it goes from -40 to 0. And that screws into this black socket here. And you need to reach into the chamber to do that. So I'll just do that for you now. Easy as that. Then we can see the pressure gauge at 15 kilopascals, so 1.15 atmospheres. It will be actually sitting on 30 kilopascals. That's enough for now to prove that the chamber is good. And as you can see, it's as tight as a drum. And now we open the chamber up, because the next step is going to be putting the frame in. And to hasten the deflation, I turn the compressor off. I'll come back and show you the frame install in a moment. So this is the internal pressure gauge. It's got a black exterior. You can read it goes from -40 to 0. And that screws into this black socket here, and you need to reach into the chamber to do that. So I just did it for you now. screw it up and you can actually see it going into the thread there, and you screw that up until it's finger tight. Then you do the external pressure gauge, which I'll show you now. So this blue one, 0 to 40, goes into the blue socket. Just hold, give the chamber some support underneath, put it into there, and turn it. And it's best to turn it holding onto the chrome ring, because this is the blue thing's just a casing, so that won't actually twist it. So you just do that, and it's finger firm tight. This one here is your pressure release valve for when your therapy actually finishes, and you can open that to let the air out, or you can close it to keep the air in, or you can adjust it during the therapy to change the pressure inside the chamber to your own standards. Next step is going to be putting the frame together inside the chamber, but I've put it together in the room just so you can see how it hangs together. There's these clips that hold it around the ring, and then there's a centerpiece that join the two halves of the ring together. I've actually taped these clips so that they can't move about too much, so they should be in about the right place to put it together easily. And then the same along the sides, as you get 2 clips at the ring, 2 clips to join one piece, 2 pieces, and then the third piece joins to the other ring along the sides, and you just replicate on the other side. And I'll show you more shortly. The next step is to put the frame into the chamber and then assemble it while you're in the chamber. And the best way to do that obviously would be to have the chamber inflated while you're trying to put the pieces together. So shortly we'll start the compressor, put all the pieces in, but I just want to give you the rundown on how it all goes together. So while you're in the chamber, and you would imagine it's inflated around me, you'll pick up one of these half rounds with the 2 tags, with the 2 clips on it, and you will grab one of these straight connectors, unscrew the end a little bit, and then just slide it on there, and then screw it up. And then on the other end, you'll do the same thing. And then with that in the chamber lying towards you, you'll grab another round, and you'll simply put that on the end, and any round will do because they're actually all the same. And you screw that up, and then you'll stand that up inside the chamber. So already, rather than it sitting there around you, that'll hold up one end of the hyperbaric chamber. And then you grab some of these rails for the side rails. So you'll see pictures of these lying on the floor. So basically what I've done is I've prepared these. I've got a clip on the end of both top and bottom rail, one with nothing on it, and another one with clips on the end of the top and bottom rail. And the way to start, if you imagine I'm in the chamber, is you put that in there, and this one on that side, and then you screw it up so it doesn't fall out while you're in the next piece. And so that would actually be sitting beside me, like that. And then I grab the one with nothing on it, and some of this is being held up by the walls of the chamber now, so it's actually easier in the chamber. And you simply push that in, and you push it in to it as far as it will go, and you do that. And then you grab the one with the clips on it, and you put that together like that. And you can refer back to the pictures. And then you'll have one rail sitting along there, and you can just let it lie there inside the chamber while you then put together the 2 rounds for the other end of the chamber. So if you can imagine that this will be sitting at the other end of the chamber, and then what you'll do is you'll plug these 2 empty pieces into put this together so it makes it more obvious. into these. So those will fit into those. Pretty easy. And then you simply do the other side of the chamber with the other side rail. It's good to put all the clips on and then take at least 4 more pieces in. And if you've got any more in your bag, then take in about 6 more, so that you've got some if you happen to break it by accident. So I'm going to take that apart again in a second, and then I'll show you putting it all into the chamber and me getting in, and then I'll try and take some snapshots of me in the chamber while I'm putting it together. See you soon. Hi again, so we're going to put the pieces of the frame into the chamber now. You might notice that I've changed them to just a t-shirt as in an earlier video. This part gets quite hot, so you can see we've also closed the blinds in our room just to make sure that there's no sun on the chamber when I'm trying to do this, so you'll actually get pretty sweaty. First step is to turn the compressor on. So that'll be blowing air into the chamber. You can check this is closed, as always. And then I'm going to take each of the pieces of the chamber, of the frame, and put them inside the chamber. I'll talk quickly about these pieces, which I'm also going to take in. This is an air baffle, so when you're inside the chamber it makes quite a fuzzy noise of the air coming in, and this just screws into a port which I'll show you inside the chamber. This is a cap that you use to put over the 1.5 release valve so that you can actually take the chamber all the way up to 1.3. But it's there so that if you wanted to run it at half pressure, you could just take it off and that would work perfectly. And this is goes on to where the oxygen comes in, so that plugs into a port in the side of the chamber. And then this collects any condensation that might be coming in through your oxygen feed. And the way to empty this, if it collects anything, which really it doesn't, well, so most of the time it doesn't, then you can just tip the water out of that and then reconnect it and turn it again to lock it, so that it actually doesn't go apart. So I take those on at the same time. So just pause now and I'll go and stand by the chamber. So these are the 6 pieces of the side rails, so I just take them first and I put them in the chamber. I put them in so that they're bendy part down and turn on the top. Just lift it up like that. You can do them one at a time if you want, of course. Open the opening right up, and then just have that sitting in the middle on the floor of the chamber. Then I'll take all my extra clips. So I've got the 4 that I need, and I've got 3 spares in case I break them. Throw them on the floor. Got my condensation collector, my baffle, and my valve cap. I'll put them in as well to one end, like that. And then I take the 4 pieces that form the 2 rounds, and I'll put them in bendy side first. And put them as far over as I can, because I'm going to have to get in with all of this metal. Just make sure it's completely in. And you haven't dropped any clips on the floor. Okay, so then I get into the chamber and I'll actually get in and I'll sit there, and then Pip will have to turn the video off so that we can actually get the chamber zipped up, and she'll pass me the phone as well, and I'll take some snapshots of assembly of the frame. I won't be able to do a video because I need 2 hands to do it. So I'll hold that up, come and stand in the middle, crouch down, put my hands behind me, put my feet out, and then I'll try to sit on the hole in the frame so they're not beating anything. And then when we're putting doing the zippers up, I'll do as much as I can to put that by holding the bladder up, because we want to try and keep these pieces of the zip as close together as we can so that it slides easily. Like that. Okay? So we've just closed the zip up. I had to hold it up like that as we went along. So that's something to remember, and it makes everything a lot easier for the person outside. And as you can see, it's very much sagging down around me. So I want to let it inflate now until it's self-supporting, and at that point I will actually take this valve and I'll open it a little bit so that the air is going out almost at the same rate as it's coming in, so it doesn't continue to put pressure on the bladder. It pretty much just sits there self-supporting, and that makes assembling the frame a lot easier. I'll come back with photos or pictures as we go through it. So you can see we've got a bit of self-support going on now, still nowhere near up to room pressure, but I can actually move around in here now a little bit. So what I will do is I'll actually put a couple of pieces in. So that's the condensation collector and the baffle. And I can show you those, I can do them one-handed. So you've got 3 outlets at the head end. That one's the oxygen, that one's just the blank, and that one's where the baffle goes. So we'll screw the baffle in first because you can hear it making quite a noise. And it's already quieter, so we'll just simply screw that up. Give a last screw on the metal frame of it, and then that's good, finger tight. Then I'll take the oxygen condensation collector, and that simply plugs into that port there, and you can hear it click. It won't come out unless I actually push on that ring and pull it out. So you push on that and then pull it out with one hand. Put that back on. And then this obviously can come off. Let's put that on. Cool. Then I'll just move down the end of the chamber a bit more so I'm not sitting on the frame. You can see it all laid out in front of me. And now we'll just wait for it to be fully inflated. I just point out that you can see a couple of wrinkles. So there's one on the floor there, and there's one on the side, and one up here, and a couple still at my head end. So we haven't reached the pressure I like to have it at before I start assembling the frame. And the reason that I want the wrinkles to go is because the frame's quite a tight fit, and it makes it a lot easier if we don't have to navigate these. So we'll just wait for them to distort out. Okay, you can see now that there's pretty much no folds around, certainly on the floor area. The chamber's ready to start putting the frame together. There's a wee hint I'll give you as well. So I'm now going to move on to the side of the chamber, and you can see that it turns. So now everything's offline. You really want it to be sitting like that. So if I put more pressure on the left hand side with my knee, it'll rotate back into place. Once it's fully inflated and it's got the frame in it, it won't do that while you're in it and you're using it. But if you can keep those pretty much horizontally opposite each other, the baffle and the oxygen thing is 100% ready to put the frame together. I'm going to take one of the half rounds and put it to the left of me. Now I've done 2 things. I've got the frame set up opposite, orbit into a round, and I've opened this dial a little bit to let the air out, which you can hear. Keeps it a bit cooler, and it actually means that the chamber isn't too tight to actually take the frame easily. So I'll come back when I've got this put together. Put a clip on that end, and I've got a clip on that end. I've clipped the other half round into it, and it's just sitting there now. And now I'm going to push it back against that wall, and just leave it sitting there. Okay, you can see I've pushed it back against the head end, and in terms of placement, this side clip here is just below this seam, and the left hand side clip is just below this seam. That's good placement. So your side rails are going to run along at that level. Slightly above you, keep the actual ladder up and give you enough room at the bottom to put your mattress in. Okay, so I'll attach a side rail now on the right hand side. So these now, I've pushed them together until there was a click or a thump, and I really want that now to be as tight as possible and as compressed as possible so that when I put the other side together it's not interfering with that. Okay, so here we are on the other side. You can see that that's come away a little bit from the end. The track along this piece, that's got quite a significant overlap that has to connect together, and then that end's come away a bit as well. So clearly I will hold on to this side, and with the other hand I'll hold on to this side, and I'll pull them apart until I can get that end piece into that socket. Just make sure these are a little bit loose so that you can actually get it in. That one's actually quite loose. If you make them too loose, you can actually damage that gooseneck. So it's better to have them just open so that the frame will fit in. This is the hardest part of assembling the frame. I can't show you by video because I definitely need two hands. Okay, so sometimes you need to actually have it so that it's sitting on an angle like this, and at the bottom, and then you can slowly push it back towards the wall of the chamber, and that will just slide into the socket. That was pretty easy. So even on that angle, if I'm gentle, I can do that without actually damaging it. So I've had it pulled towards me, and then I just made sure the tip of this one and the tip of this one were both locked in just to the end, the original part of that, ensuring there wasn't too much play in this ring. And then I just pushed it away from me like that. You can do it with two fingers and back against the wall of the chamber, and now I can do that up, which I do just by turning that in opposite directions. Cool. And then this one's a little bit loose, so I'll turn that one. And that end. And that's actually a frame assembled inside the chamber. As you can see, I've knocked it off centre on a bit of an angle here, so I'll just lean on that side a bit, get it sorted, and I've still got my 3 spare clips. Now, if I grab this cap, I'll explain how that works. You can see that that is different from that. It's actually got a ring around it. That's your 1.15 escape valve. So I've covered that, and that means that that one and that one will actually release air once the chamber reaches 1.3 atmospheres. As an example of how hot it can get, remember we've got the blinds pulled and it's actually still winter, and I've already fogged up the inside of the chamber with the effort of putting the frame together. So take it slow, do it easy, don't get brutal, just do it all gentle and firm, and it'll be fine. And I'm showing you now, I've been doing all of that with the pressure gauge just above 0, and that is letting air out because that is the easiest way to do it. So remember to actually control your pressure. If you go up to full pressure, you probably won't get the frame together.